Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 8 of What If Deku was given the Six Paths power. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. The memories of days ago flew into Izuku's mind, back on that day when Kachan intercepted him in the school hallway.
Izuku, we need to talk.
We do? Sorry, Kachan, but I have a lot on my mind at the moment. Could we perhaps do it at another time? The green-haired boy asked as he tried to gain distance from Bakugo.
Don't you sorry me! You and me outside, now!
Bakugo demanded. Fine, but let's make it quick, okay? Lunchtime should be over soon. The two boys went outside and sat on a bench. Neither looked at the other. So, what is it that you wanted to talk about? Midoriya asked in an intrigued manner.
About everything, really. You know, ever since that shitty day at the USJ, this entire reality has changed. Heroes are no longer the beacons of hope, but humans like you and I. And regrettably, that also goes for All Might,
Bakugo said, as he pulled out a card from his pocket. Wait, is that? Izuku exclaimed.
Yep, that ultra-rare All Might card I pulled when we were kids. You also pulled it on that same day, if I'm not mistaken.
The young boy paused, but then kept going.
I remember how amazing it felt to have it. The card that represented the hero that I admired the most. The hero that never loses. I guess that no longer holds any meaning. He lost in the USJ incident. We all lost.
Kachan, I didn't know that you felt that way. But maybe it's better that I do know now. It's okay to feel that way. It's natural even. We're no longer those blind children that had a limited view of the world and our idols. Heroes get hurt, suffer, and lose like you and me. That's why we need to be better and do what the previous generation refused to do. There's no need for a #1 hero anymore. One person shouldn't have to carry all that burden on their backs. We can all work together to fit that spot. At least, that's what I believe. Midoriya concluded, awaiting Bakugo's response.
You know, I always wanted to get him to autograph this card for me, but maybe that's not needed anymore. All Might would probably refuse it anyway. He's probably taken this worse than everyone.
Izuku leaned back and decided to follow on with what Kachan had just said, instead of pointing out that what he had said just prior seemed to be ignored. He is. All Might is questioning if everything that he did up to this point had been rendered in vain. Look, Kachan, I think you should try getting that autograph. Even if it's not today, then sometime in the future. Never give up on dreams that you aspire to accomplish. Even if they are small, you still should try to make them come true. Otherwise, you may end up regretting it someday. At that moment, Bakugo stood up and turned to face Deku, the All Might card being held up high in his right hand.
Then it's settled. I'll ask for that autograph only if I kick your ass during the sports festival. Seems fair, right?
Bakugo proposed. Izuku stood right away and passed by Bakugo, and he then placed his fist on the back of his friend. I'll be waiting then. I haven't forgotten to get back at you for winning our last encounter.
Damn right! We villains won with these! Even Four Eyes had fun with your little girlfriend,
Bakugo joked. Not my girlfriend, Izuku corrected, slightly annoyed. And his name is Ida, not Four Eyes, he then added.
Yeah, whatever.
And so the memory faded away as he stared at the present in front of him. His fight with Kachan was about to commence. We have reached the finale at last! The top student among UA's first-year class will be decided right here. Our final match will be Midoriya versus Bakugo, President Mike said as the crowd grew wild. Are you ready? Begin! Izuku transformed and countered Bakugo's blow with a truth-seeking orb staff, sending the blonde one back just a bit.
Is that how you're gonna take it? Then take this! AB Shot Auto Cannon!
Bakugo shouted as he started to shoot consecutive explosion blasts at Deku. New move, eh? Six Paths, Spike Shield! Midoriya said as he formed his shield to block the incoming attack. The consecutive blasts were strong enough to push Deku back bit by bit slightly, but then they ceased. I'm gonna have to add that one to the notebook, Izuku thought as he lowered the shield to be able to see Kachan. Bakugo was just standing there with his eyes closed. One of his hands was stretched out while the other was forming a circle in the palm of the outstretched hand. He opened his eyes and stood his ground. A smirk appeared on his face.
My attack had no effect, you say? Then let's see how you handle this. Full power AP shot!
A concentrated beam shot out and collided with the shield, quickly pushing Midoriya back and ever closer to out of the ring. Interesting plan, Kacchan, but now it's my turn! The green-haired boy shouted. 6 paths, spike shield, spiky rain! All the spikes that adorn the front part of the shield then shot out upwards, going towards the sky. They then descended rapidly towards Bakugo, which made the boy stop his attack to counter them. And he did, with an explosion similar to the one he had used against Baraka earlier. But this time, he had made it humongous. Even then, this didn't stop the spikes from raining down on him. The attack hadn't even slowed them down. The boy cried out as they impaled him all over. None had missed. Bakugo ignored the pain and quickly looked for Deku, but he was no longer within his line of vision. Looking for me? Izuku then asked. He was right behind Bakugo. 6 paths, heavenly strike! Bakugo flinched as the slap hit him at the side of the head, sending him flying towards the wall outside the arena. All he had wanted was to not be left behind, to remain amongst the strongest. But now he was outclassed in every way. He was not going to win this. He would just fall to Deku, and just like that, he wouldn't be able to get the autograph that he always wanted. At that instant, his eyes opened wide, and he stretched his right arm and made a massive explosion that propelled him back into the fighting arena. If he had taken even a fraction of a second more, then he would have been disqualified.
Listen here, Deku. I'm not letting someone like you take me out in such a disgraceful way. Show me all that damn power you possess. It's about time you stop holding back.
Bakugo demanded as he pulled the spikes out of his body. Izuku smiled. If you wish. And he kicked a truth-seeking orb at full strength towards Bakugo, but the boy caught it with his bare hand.
This can't be the best you've got!
Kacchan exclaimed. I know, Deku said as he appeared in front of his friend and kicked him into the air. What then ensued was a blur. Izuku was treating Bakugo like a rag doll as he punched and kicked him all over the air above the arena. At any moment, he would have been able to wring him out, but he hesitated. Perhaps Kacchan would find a way to counter, he thought. But then 3 orbs came together and formed a whip on Midoriya's hand, and with it, he captured Bakugo, tying him up in a tangled attack. 6 paths, paralyzing whip! The lightning shocked Bakugo, a nostalgic feeling that he hated from back at the beach fight. But it didn't last as Deku crashed him against the stone floor of the arena. Still conscious. Quite outstanding, Kacchan. You have improved since that day. But even so, we both know that you're at your limit. So please surrender. I don't want to take you out. Instead of a response, only silence prospered. Bakugo didn't say a word as he seemed out of focus. This all changed when he started to spin, strong enough to rip the whip out of Izuku's grip. Wait, this is the same move he used against Uraraka on the Heroes vs. Villains. If I dodge it, it could blow up the crowd. But if I take it, I'll surely be wrung out. Young Midoriya thought as he saw the attack taking form. There was no other way, the boy concluded. He had to take it head on, not just to avoid getting everyone hurt, but also to show respect towards Kacchan. So he stood his ground. Izuku would take the attack. The Howzitter impact seemed different though, almost as if it were fueled with way more explosions than usual. Not only that, but the tornado was also engulfed by the electric remains of Midoriya's previous attack. And so, it collided. The attack hit Izuku Midoriya, but the green-haired boy had grabbed Bakugo with him. As they were flying out of bounds, he threw him to the grass, eliminating him. But Midoriya wasn't done. He made a sea-like formation from his orbs to catch him before he touched the blue wall in front of him. And with this, the tournament comes to an end! The winner of this year's Class 1 Sports Festival is Class 1A's Izuku Midoriya! President Mike shouted as the entire stadium began to cheer out of their minds. Not long after, the top 3 students were given their medals. 3rd place for Tokiyami, and technically also Ida, but the latter had to leave for unknown reasons. 2nd place for Bakugo, and last, but definitely not least, Izuku Midoriya with 1st place. All Might handed each and every one of them a medal, alongside giving them words of encouragement. But right before it all concluded, the mic was given to Deku. He was finally going to be able to say those words, so he raised his fist and shouted, "Japan, I'm here!" The young boy was now immortalized in everyone's minds, and the future could begin to look more bright than it previously had been. This video was sponsored by Grubhub. With more than 3,000 store locations, Grubhub offers on-demand convenience delivery across the country. You can search for restaurants by cuisine or location, quickly order food from the menu, and track your order from the app. All hassle-free and without any extra charges. Grubhub charges less than other food delivery services, allowing you to get the best value for your money. With Grubhub Plus, you can get free delivery prices for 10 meals every month on orders of $12 or more for only $9.99 a month. That's not all. You can use the code AFF25 to save 25% off your first mobile order of $15 or more. This code is for a limited time, so again, get 25% off your first mobile order of $15 or more now if you use the code AFF25. Check the link in the description. Thank you again to Grubhub for sponsoring this video. A day after, the students were told about their internships, but this was just the beginning of things to come. Ida's brother had been crippled by a villain called Stain, enough so that the older brother would never walk again. As for Todoroki, he had gathered all his strength to go see his mother for the first time in years at the hospital. They would talk for quite a while. At the same time, Uraraka had just arrived at her apartment to find it unlocked, and that's when her parents jumped her. They were so proud of her, so they came here to celebrate together. The girl could only cry out of happiness. Meanwhile, Izuku was with his mother, who had admitted to losing consciousness a few times throughout the entire viewing experience. He told her not to worry because that shouldn't happen anymore. He was ready to face any foe that could come his way. At the Bakugo household, Bakugo had gotten up and intensely brushed his teeth. He hated his defeat against Deku, and he cursed the damn nerd repeatedly, but he retracted himself. If anything, Deku was now a damn god on a pedestal. He could rot in hell. Next time, the damn green-haired god would lose to him. His angry snarls ended as Mama Bakugo punched her son in the back of the head. It was just noon, and to hear this annoying brat shouting was the least of her wishes. 2 days later, the students from Class 1A chose their hero names. Most of them were nice or even fancy in some cases, but 2 of these attracted some attention. First was Izuku, as he had chosen Deku as his hero name. He wasn't the worthless Deku anymore, but the Deku that would never give up until everyone was saved. And when it came to Bakugo, who chose the hero name Dynamite, clearly inspired by the combination of the words dynamite and might from All Might. But that wasn't all, as his title was Explosion Murder God, quite the outlandish one, everyone thought, but it managed to be approved somehow. Later, the students began to pick who they would do their internships with. Uraraka had chosen to go to Gunheads to improve her hand-to-hand combat and to become stronger in case of having to fight someone like Bakugo in the future. As for Midoriya, he didn't know who to pick yet. There were just so many choices, and he needed to think about every single one of them thoroughly. But this wouldn't come to be as All Might came to get him and suggested Midoriya to take his internship under Gran Torino, All Might's old master. Apparently, he knew about One for All, so it could help the young boy get ready to inherit the quirk in some months. Izuku accepted and got ready to go train with the wise man. Days later, all the students went to their respective agencies, and as Deku entered the place with the address he had been given, he saw a dead man on the floor. Blood and guts were right there for all to see. Thankfully, it was just a misunderstanding. The senile man had just tripped while holding sausages and ketchup. What came next was surely unexpected. The old man requested for Deku to fight him, a simple test to prove something. Young Midoriya accepted and changed into his hero suit, just to then transform. Less than a minute was all it took for the old man to beat Deku to the ground. The boy was clearly too reliant on using those orbs of his and not on using his power evenly across his body. Gran Torino scolded him and made known his shortcomings. If the boy wanted to progress, then he would need to start spreading his energy throughout all his body to prepare himself for One for All. Izuku agreed to this, and he began to train on his own. He needed to prepare his body to inherit All Might's quirk after all. As this was going on, multiple things were also taking place. Bakugo and Todoroki had arrived at Endeavor's agency as they would both train under him. This would be fun. Ida, on the other hand, had taken his internship with the sole purpose of getting revenge on the villain that had crippled his brother. Soon, he would find that bastard to kill him. Meanwhile, at the League of Villains HQ, Shigaraki had met with the hero killer, Stain. Negotiations were short as neither party agreed on much. If anything, they disagreed on just about everything. Still, they decided upon a meeting later, even if it was one to kill each other. And this meeting came to be on the 3rd day of the student internships. On a roof, they both conversed, but yet again, no real agreement was made. The only difference was that this time, Shigaraki was pissed off after his talk, so he unleashed some Nomus onto the town below. That pride and self-prestige that Stain had would be crushed tonight. At that very moment, Deku and Gran Torino were inside a bullet train. It was all calm before Inomi crashed into the side of the train. Gran Torino kicked him out and went to fight in the city below. Deku also got off and flew to see that a good part of the city was up in flames. At least half a dozen of those creatures, if not more, were terrorizing the civilians. Before he could intervene, though, Deku was distracted by a hero calling out for Ida. This made Midoriya think about his friend and how weird it had felt when they had to say goodbye to each other at the train stop. It was settled. He would go find Ida now while the pro heroes would handle the Nomus. And they sure would as Endeavor entered the scene and calcinated all of them immediately. But that was when All Might arrived. He had been informed about this, so he had to come. That wasn't all, though. A minute later, Hawks and Miriko arrived. The pro heroes were no longer messing around. Any type of danger to society would be extinguished at once. And as all that was transpiring, Deku had launched an orb and used another to envelop his fist. The sphere broke the hero killer's right arm, while the fist went straight into his face, knocking him out into the dark alleyway behind them. Indeed, Deku had just used a contained smash against Stain, and he was now getting Ida out of there alongside another hero that had been injured prior. Without much difficulty, he flew out of there and saved both. A couple of minutes later, the hero killer came face to face with Endeavor and Hawks, and for an instant, he paralyzed them with his will. But after his speech, Hawks didn't hesitate to end his life by slicing his clean head off. The tyranny of the hero killer had come to an end, but not before his last words were recorded for future followers to complete. After seeing this, Shigaraki retreated alongside Kurogiri. This was no time to stay around, especially with so many pro heroes who now seemed to be okay with ending their foes. A day or so later, Ida had been healed, and he was reprimanded for a stupid lapse of judgment, but he was forgiven as he didn't cause any significant problems. Still, this would have to be a lesson for the boy to learn. As this occurred, many Stain followers began unifying crimes, hoping that by this way, be able to join the organization that the late Stain had been a part of, the League of Villains. Somehow, the future that had become bright a few days ago was now stained by tiny sparks of darkness. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our Patreons, BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Shifter Melees, Adam Zagil, XAV Beat 03, Zill, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I also like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toya Costa, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364, and Knuckles, Remiu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Brian Greer, and Refik135. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. And lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. And if you want more content from me, check me out on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Trina Duhart. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.